In recent years, space tourism has started transitioning from science fiction to reality. The journey toward commercial space tourism began in the late 20th century when in 2001, Dennis Tito, a U.S. millionaire, made history by becoming the first space tourist, paying a reported $20 million to travel aboard Russia's Soyuz spacecraft to the International Space Station. While this marked the beginning of space tourism, the experience was limited to the very wealthy and required extensive training. The high cost of these missions kept space travel exclusive to astronauts, scientists, and government agencies. In the years following, significant advancements in rocket technology, along with the rise of private space exploration companies, transformed the landscape of space tourism. Notable companies such as SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic emerged as pioneers in the industry. They've made impressive strides in making suborbital space tourism a reality. The recent history of space tourism has seen a number of historic flights, each marking a significant milestone toward the future of human space travel. Commercial space flights have moved well beyond the first private space tourists. Virgin Galactic, founded by Sir Richard Branson, has been a leader in suborbital tourism. Virgin Galactic's Spaceship Two has completed several test flights, and in July 2021, Richard Branson himself became one of the first high-profile passengers on a commercial suborbital spaceflight. The spaceplane took off from Spaceport America in New Mexico and reached an altitude of about 53 miles, 86 kilometers, just above the Kármán line, which is commonly recognized as the edge of space. Virgin Galactic's model provides a brief experience of weightlessness as passengers spend around 4 to 5 minutes in zero gravity before descending back to Earth. As of now, Virgin Galactic aims to conduct regular flights, with ticket prices starting at approximately $450,000. Blue Origin, that was founded by Amazon's Jeff Bezos, has focused on building reusable rockets that can carry tourists to space. The company's New Shepard rocket made history with its first crewed flight on July 20, 2021, when Jeff Bezos, along with 3 other passengers, reached suborbital space. The flight lasted around 10 minutes and provided a few minutes of weightlessness and stunning views of Earth from space. Blue Origin's New Shepard is designed for space tourists, with an accessible, capsule-style interior that allows for relatively easy boarding and comfortable seats. Ticket prices for future flights are expected to be around $200,000 to $300,000. Blue Origin continues to refine its spacecraft, with plans to fly hundreds of tourists in the coming years. SpaceX, under the leadership of Elon Musk, has also taken a different approach by focusing on orbital tourism rather than just suborbital flights. In September 2021, SpaceX launched its first private crew into orbit, called Inspiration 4, which orbited the Earth for 3 days aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. While the mission was not specifically marketed as a space tourism experience, it represented a significant milestone in making orbital space tourism a reality. SpaceX has future plans to offer missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond, and their technology promises to make such ventures increasingly accessible to private citizens. SpaceX Starship, that's a fully reusable spacecraft, is also designed to carry tourists to the Moon and potentially Mars. These flights, while still primarily catering to the wealthy, mark the beginning of a new era in space tourism. With the development of reusable rockets and commercial spacecraft, the cost of space travel is expected to decrease over time, opening the door to a larger demographic of space tourists. While space tourism primarily focuses on suborbital flights, the next frontier of the industry lies in creating space hotels and other long-duration stays in orbit. Several companies have already proposed ambitious plans to build hotels in space, offering tourists the opportunity to stay in orbit for extended periods, dine in zero gravity, and experience life in space in a more immersive way. In 2018, Orion Span announced plans to announce the Aurora Station, a luxury space hotel capable of hosting up to 6 guests at a time. The hotel was envisioned as a fully operational station that would offer 12-day stays in low Earth orbit. Guests would have the chance to experience weightlessness, participate in spacewalks and enjoy unparalleled views of Earth. The hotel was designed to be modular and built by leveraging existing space infrastructure. Orion Span projected that Aurora Station would be operational by 2022, though delays have pushed the timeline back. The proposed cost for a stay was around $9.5 million per person, making it an elite experience, but with the potential to bring space-based tourism to a new level. Bigelow Aerospace, founded by entrepreneur Robert Bigelow, has been a pioneer in inflatable space habitats. The company developed a beam that we can call the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, which was launched aboard the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft in 2016 and attached to the International Space Station, ISS. Beam demonstrated the potential for inflatable, flexible habitats, which are lighter, more cost-effective, and expandable in space compared to traditional rigid models. Bigelow Aerospace has long envisioned a commercial space station and hotel. The companies proposed the Bigelow Space Hotel, which would use inflatable habitats to provide space tourists with comfortable accommodations for extended stays in low Earth orbit. However, despite promising concepts, the company has faced financial setbacks and has not yet moved forward with fully realized space tourism projects. The feasibility of space hotels is tied to the advancement of space transportation, affordable rocket technology, and the development of space habitats that can support human life for extended periods. The ability to send people to space and keep them alive in orbit for weeks or months at a time requires advancements in space engineering, radiation protection, and life support systems. The experience of staying in space would differ vastly from traditional hotel accommodations on Earth. Visitors would have the opportunity to float in zero gravity, view Earth from space, and engage in activities such as spacewalks, scientific experiments, or simply enjoying the vastness of space. One of the most significant breakthroughs in space travel has been the development of reusable rockets. For decades, space exploration involved a one-time use launch vehicle, which was incredibly expensive. The cost of each rocket launch was a major barrier to space tourism, with prices reaching hundreds of millions of dollars per mission. Enter SpaceX and its Falcon 9 rocket, which made history by successfully landing its first stage back on Earth after launching, essentially reusing the same hardware. This achievement significantly reduced the cost of launching spacecraft, as rockets no longer need to be entirely discarded after each flight. Other companies, like Blue Origin with their New Shepard rocket and Virgin Galactic with Spaceship Two, are also pushing the envelope in reusable technology. As with any new frontier, safety is a paramount concern for space tourism. Unlike air travel, space flight involves conditions that are far more extreme, including high velocity, extreme temperatures, and exposure to radiation. Over the years, companies have made significant strides in improving spacesuits, spacecraft safety protocols, and emergency procedures for space tourists. Spacesuits for tourists are designed to provide life support, ensuring a consistent supply of oxygen and protecting from temperature extremes, vacuum, and potential impacts. These suits are also equipped with communication devices, allowing tourists to stay in contact with flight crew during their journey. Spacecraft safety has been another critical focus. Innovations in spacecraft design have aimed to protect passengers from the many risks associated with space travel, including sudden cabin depressurization or rocket malfunctions. For example, SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule is designed with a launch escape system that allows the capsule to rapidly detach from the rocket in the event of an emergency, ensuring passengers can safely return to Earth. Additionally, Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket features an escape capsule with its own autonomous control, providing tourists with a level of safety that would be unimaginable just a decade ago. Companies are also focusing on emergency procedures, simulating various failure scenarios and designing protocols to manage everything from technical malfunctions to medical emergencies in space. These efforts are crucial to ensuring space tourism becomes not only exciting, but also safe for passengers. Space travel, by nature, involves significant fuel consumption and environmental impact, especially when rockets are launched into the atmosphere. As space tourism grows, there are increasing concerns about the environmental toll it might take, including carbon emissions, potential ozone layer depletion, and the accumulation of space debris. SpaceX, for example, has made significant strides in reducing the environmental impact of space travel through its reusable rockets. By reusing rockets, the need for manufacturing new components and the associated environmental costs are drastically reduced. Additionally, SpaceX has been working on launching Starship, a fully reusable spacecraft, which is expected to further decrease the ecological footprint of space missions. However, the challenge of space debris, waste left behind from defunct satellites, discarded rocket stages, and spent spacecraft continues to be a growing concern. There are fears that the increasing number of space flights, especially from private tourism companies, could further exacerbate the space junk problem. To mitigate this, international space agencies and private companies are working on solutions such as space debris removal technologies and better waste management practices for future missions. One of the most significant ethical debates surrounding space tourism is its exclusivity. Currently, space flights are reserved for the ultra-wealthy, with ticket prices running in the range of $200,000 to $500,000 per person for suborbital flights. While the cost of space travel is expected to decrease over time, it raises the question, should space tourism be available only to the privileged few, or should mechanisms be put in place to make it more inclusive? Some argue that making space tourism accessible to the masses could lead to increased inequality. On the other hand, proponents suggest that opening up space travel to a broader audience would promote global unity and scientific curiosity. Programs such as SpaceX's Inspiration 4, where a group of private citizens went on an orbital mission, or initiatives by Blue Origin to invite non-celebrity passengers on flights, are small steps in the direction of inclusivity, though the costs remain prohibitive. With the rapid increase in space tourism, there's a growing concern about the pollution of space. As more rockets are launched and more objects are placed into orbit, the accumulation of space debris becomes an even more pressing issue. Space junk poses serious risks to both active spacecraft and the long-term health of space exploration. Ethically, it becomes a question of responsibility. Who is accountable for the waste generated in space? Currently, no comprehensive international regulations exist to govern space debris removal, and the industry is left to self-regulate. Well, the possibilities for space tourism destinations are as vast as space itself, but there are a few that stand out as potential spots for commercial travelers. The most immediate destination for space tourists is low Earth orbit. At altitudes between 100 and 1,200 miles above Earth, tourists will experience breathtaking views of the planet, weightlessness, and the unique perspective of seeing Earth from space. Companies like SpaceX and Virgin Galactic have already started to offer suborbital flights to LEO, where tourists spend a few minutes in zero gravity, enjoying the view and the sensation of weightlessness. In the future, visits to the ISS may also become a possibility for space tourists. NASA has already opened up the ISS to private missions, and it is conceivable that tourists could someday experience life aboard the station. The moon represents the next significant milestone for space tourism. In recent years, both NASA and private companies like SpaceX have proposed plans to send tourists to lunar orbit. SpaceX's Starship has the capability to transport passengers around the moon, and the Artemis program aims to return humans to the lunar surface in the coming decade. The moon presents opportunities for tourists to walk on its surface, explore its craters, and witness the Earthrise. While trips to Mars are still in the realm of speculation, there are ongoing discussions about long-term space tourism on the red planet. A trip to Mars would require months of travel, the establishment of sustainable habitats, and technology to support life for extended periods. As companies like SpaceX work on making Mars travel a reality, it's possible that in the distant future, Mars could become the ultimate tourist destination. As technology continues to advance, space tourism will evolve from a niche luxury into a more mainstream industry. Suborbital flights may become more affordable by the late 2020s, while trips to LEO and the moon could follow in the 2030s. Mars tourism, however, may not be realized until the 2040s or beyond, depending on technological and environmental challenges. Would you go on a space vacation if it were affordable? What would you want to see or do in space? Would you choose the moon, Mars, or a suborbital trip around the Earth? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to know more about space, don't forget to watch our video on major UFO events about to happen in 2025.